on YouTube? Thanks for checking out another Fat Guy Builds episode. Today we're back on the 2020 Ford Explorer. We got a Whipple intercooler to replace the tiny factory intercooler, and it's all thanks to Whoosh Motorsports. Check them out. I'll have the link in the description below for all the stuff they have. Well, their main page, right? They sell more than just this, obviously. So I'm going to do a step-by-step video showing you exactly how to tear this thing apart, how to get this in, and then obviously to put it back together, you just play the video in reverse. So let's get started. This intercooler comes in super good packaging. It should not come damaged. It took me like 2.5 minutes to rip off the other side of this foam that was put together. Look at the size difference. This isn't even just wow, man. So I'm gonna do some measurements and post them on the bottom. Look in the description below for the measurement differences. But this is crazy. Height on the factory is 6 1/4 inches. Width is 26 inches. And thickness is 2.5 inches. Alright, height. We're at 15 3/4. Width of the cooling area is 26.5. And then depth is, or thickness would be 2 inches. Here's the front of the vehicle with the factory intercooler. Now let's see it compared to the aftermarket one. Here's what it looks like with the new intercooler installed. You can definitely see more shiny. Take a 10mm and remove the negative cable from the battery terminal. Remove these 10mm bolts on the top of the grill area of the bumper. Remove these 4 7mm bolts. Once those 4 bolts are out, you can just pull this out and it'll come out easily all the way to the end of the bumper up here. So now just press this connector and disconnect the sensor. Remove these 2 clips at the bottom corner of the bumper. You're going to pop the center out first and then take a panel popper and pop the whole thing out. Take the same 7mm socket and you're going to remove all of these bolts across the front. Below where the fender and the bumper meet, there's one more clip. Pop this clip out because we're going to have to get to a bolt that holds the fender and the bumper together. In the fender well, connecting the fender to the bumper, there's 2 black 10mm bolts. You should be able to see them right there. Just take those out on each side. Whatever Ford engineer decided to put a gallon of blue Loctite on bumper corner bolts, he should go to the bathroom and punch himself in the dick. In between the 2 bolts on each side that you just took out, there's a rectangle plastic clip and it has little push tabs. So you see where the screwdriver comes out? That's the one with the push tabs. Below the headlight, you're going to have this clip. So once you pull it off these clips, it'll come off there. So one person is going to tilt the bottom out and lift up at the same time. That will unpeg it from these little notches on the top. To unplug all the electrical on the bumper, there's a whole harness. On the driver's side, to go to the whole harness, there's one plug right here. You're going to squeeze and disconnect this one. On the passenger side, you have this connector here that goes down to the rest of the wiring harness on the bumper. So unplug this one. On the passenger side, you also have this brown clip that's attached to the wiring harness. You need to disconnect that. So here's a shocker. There's windshield washer fluid that sprays under the camera here that cleans the camera, and the hose is connected here. There's a little pinch that's like an oval piece of plastic. You pinch it and then it'll remove from there. Windshield washer fluid kept leaking, so I put some hose on it and then clamped it. Next, you're going to pull out these 10 millimeters here to get the headlights out. So you got up top 2, 3, 4, 5. On the bottom corner, you're going to have a plug. Push this clip, pull it off. We got to tear more off. So take, for this top piece, there's 6/10 all the way across. Use a 13 millimeter and remove the crash bar bolts from both sides. Remove these 4 8 millimeter bolts on top. To disconnect the latch cable, you push this in and then lift it up, and then you just pull out the wire from inside this groove. Cut the zip tie on each side. You're going to remove 4 10 millimeter bolts from the bottom, one there, and then the same thing on the other side. In the middle, on the bottom of the whole assembly, you have 3 more 10 millimeter. You need to disconnect that air tube, so yank it apart pretty much. Alright, so this was hard to find out, but there's little tabs on both sides. We're going to squeeze both sides at the same time and then pull this main piece out. Pull this up this way, unlocking this, pull that out, then grab a panel popper, pop this holder out. On the driver's side, we have another big bundle, big connector. So unlatch this and disconnect it. Then you just give it a little lift up and out, and then put it on the floor somewhere. Here's what it looks like underneath all that with the factory intercooler. So tiny. This looks like the same exact intercooler that's on the Ford Focus RS. Need to unplug this map sensor, pull down on the white thing, push, and you're done. On the passenger side, loosen up this clamp. On the driver's side, you're going to loosen up this clamp. You're going to use a Torx bit and remove this map sensor. For this connector, the little blue tabs, you pull them up on both over here and up here, and then push it this way. And then you can disconnect it. Use a T27 and you're going to remove the screw that holds down the map sensor. Use a 8 millimeter and remove the bolt on the driver's side of the intercooler. On the passenger side, you have to push down here to unlock it from this groove. And then you sort of just have to play with this thing, man, to get it out. It's just kind of irritating. Put some thread sealer on this black fitting. Thread it in. Tighten it down with a 19 millimeter. Put some Loctite in these for these bolts. And we're going to tighten down these two adapters. Just center them up on the holes. Alright, I put a little extra sealant on the O-ring because I don't trust them once you pull them off factory. And then I put it in, Loctite the bolt, put it in. Alright, now you're going to slide it and hook it. We had to bend the driver's side bracket a little bit to get it to go in the groove. Now we're in the groove. Put this 8 millimeter back in. Put the intercooler hoses back on, all the way flush with this, and tighten that clamp. Grab the hose now, slide it over, give it a little wiggle, and then you give it a little lock, pull back on it, make sure it doesn't come off, so that's good. at the bottom where the new brackets are going to go in, you have these little blue pieces. Put them in there. On the driver's side, slide the bracket in, and then you might have to tweak the intercooler up or down a little bit, and then put the bolts in with Loctite. So I cut out on both sides so that that fabric foam wind dam thingy will still semi work. So yeah, just cut it out to fit. Okay, well, I got you guys to the end. Now all you have to do is put back everything you took off in the reverse order. Man, that was a lot of work. You know, it took me, with the recording and a helper, about 5 hours, 4.5 hours, 5 hours. Obviously, I'm doing a bunch of recording in between. So it should take all of you 3 hours. It was a little quicker because I had a lift, so I could lift it up, get at the bottom stuff, instead of laying on the floor constantly and stuff. So 3 to 4 hours, if you pay attention, do what I do in the video, you should be all good. Oh boy. You know what, Ford? Once in a while, you drive me crazy, right? So this is more or less a Ford Focus ST intercooler for the most part. Roughly the same size, looks like it has different end tanks, right? But the intercooler in the Focus ST is too small for the 2-liter turbo. Then they take this and they stuff it with a 3-liter twin turbo. Obviously it's going to create more heat, and if it wasn't good enough for the 2-liter, why not put a bigger one from the factory? Oh, I know, because they're cheap and they already have an assembly line building millions of these things. So they're just like, oh, forget it, we'll just stuff it on the big SUV with a whole bunch of power. And you wonder why you're heat soaked after 2 pulls. So disappointing. But I mean, what are you going to do, right? We have no power over what corporate Ford does. But yeah, the Whipple intercooler is going to be just what we need to not heat soak and to put down some real power if you're going to tune it. I haven't decided if I'm going to tune it yet. Comment below who you think I should get it tuned from. Apparently there's like 3 companies right now. And I don't know much about any of them. So comment below pros and cons of each company, or your experiences, good or bad, with those companies. And then we'll get to the dyno, do a stock tune 91 octane dyno. And then all I have is the ability to get 91 octane. So the tune would have to be like a 91 tune, obviously. But I do notice now, power-wise, before you floor it, you'd be going to red line, shift, right? So red line's about 7,000 or 6,800 or something like that. I would feel the power dip off somewhere around 5,800. Now it sort of goes up, and I feel like it plateaus before it shifts. So now it just pulls the whole way. So definitely up top made a difference. So the amount, the CFM of air that was going into the motor was being restricted by this intercooler. At obviously the higher RPM, the more power you make, the more CFM is flowing. So if nothing else is different but the top end, this was causing a restriction, which was limiting the amount of CFM at the top end of the RPM range. So, very happy with that. Gonna drive it, see how I feel for the next week, and then I'll get back with you guys. I'm back, guys. Movie editing, you like it? I'm back. So a week later, okay, this is what's happened. I've noticed, roughly, I try to drive the same, hit the same cruise control speed going to and from work, and I've been trying to not do any miscellaneous trips so that I get a good average number over the 7 days as far as gas mileage is concerned compared to what I was getting before. Seems like I'm getting roughly a mile a gallon better gas mileage, which in essence makes sense, right? If the intercooler is less restrictive, then it makes more power because you have less of a pressure drop. So let's say, for instance, it was a 2 psi pressure drop across from the hot side to the cold side. So the ECU is saying, hey, give me 10 pounds of boost. All right, intake manifold on cold side sees 10 pounds of boost. But if you have a 2 psi pressure drop, that means the turbos and the wastegates are having to actuate 12 psi on the turbo side, which means you're spinning everything more, which means you're using more gas. So that's cool. Definitely quicker. I've got to toast a couple guys getting on the freeway. Overall, I like the product. I don't know, there's supposedly one more company that's making a big intercooler. I haven't seen that. So far, the fitment of the Whipple is great. Well, you saw that in the video. And I got no complaints about how it works. I got no complaints about the gas mileage. It's all good. So I say if you really want to get an intercooler, get this one. If you head over to the guys at Whoosh Motorsports, they'll hook you up. And I think I got mine in like 2 days shipped, so pretty quick turnaround. So thanks for watching. Till next time, wrench on.